Treacherous, a historical narrative about the little-known escape of British soldiers from Singapore in 1942. The impossible escape. Survival against all odds on a moonless night in February 1942, as Singapore crumbled under the relentless Japanese invasion, a group of British and Australian soldiers faced an impossible choice. Surrender or die. The fall of Singapore was more than a military defeat, it was the moment the myth of British imperial invincibility shattered forever. Among these men was Lieutenant James Harrison, a 28-year-old Royal Artillery officer whose eyes burned with a desperate determination. The city was collapsing around them, Japanese forces closing in from every direction, and the once proud British garrison was being systematically crushed. Most historians know the broad strokes of Singapore's fall, how the supposedly impregnable fortress city surrendered to Japanese forces led by General Tomoyuki Yamashita. But few know the extraordinary story of those who refused to accept defeat. Harrison and a small group of 7 men, 3 British, 4 Australian, made a decision that would become one of the most audacious survival stories of World War II. Under the cover of complete darkness, they staged an escape that seemed mathematically impossible. Their route would take them through 300 miles of occupied territory, across treacherous jungle terrain, with minimal supplies and constant risk of capture. Each man carried only what he could quickly grab. A few clips of ammunition, a basic medical kit, a compass, and an unwavering resolve to survive. The first nights were the most dangerous. Japanese patrols swept the area systematically, their searchlights cutting through the tropical darkness like razor blades. One wrong move, one snapped twig, would mean instant death. Their initial plan was simple yet incredibly risky. They would move only at night, hugging the dense jungle margins, avoiding main roads and settlements. Navigation would be their greatest challenge. One wrong turn could send them directly into enemy hands. Lieutenant Harrison had an advantage most of his companions did not. He had spent time in Malaya before the war and understood the terrain. His knowledge of local vegetation, water sources, and potential hiding spots would prove crucial to their survival. The group's composition was itself a testament to the multinational nature of British imperial forces. Harrison, a London-born artillery officer; Peterson, a tough Australian infantryman from Queensland; Collins, a Scottish communications specialist, and others each brought unique skills that would be tested to their absolute limits. Their first major challenge came on the 3rd night. A Japanese patrol was practically on top of them, close enough that they could hear individual conversations. For 3 hours, they remained absolutely motionless, barely breathing, as soldiers passed within meters of their hidden position. Water became their most critical resource. The tropical heat was relentless, and dehydration could kill as effectively as any bullet. They learned to collect morning dew using large leaves, to recognize which plants could provide moisture, and to move during the coolest hours to conserve energy. Their journey was not just a physical challenge but a psychological battle. Each man fought against exhaustion, fear, and the growing realization of how slim their chances of survival truly were. Days turned into weeks. Their initial group of 8 gradually whittled down. Not through capture or death, but through the brutal attrition of the environment itself. 2 men became severely ill with tropical diseases. Another was injured when crossing a rocky riverbed. What sustained them was not just survival instinct, but a profound sense of brotherhood. They had seen their entire military infrastructure collapse. Singapore, the supposed impenetrable fortress of the British Empire, had fallen in just 7 days. Their escape was more than a personal mission, it was a statement of defiance. Their route took them through some of the most challenging terrain imaginable. Dense Malayan rainforests, where visibility was sometimes reduced to mere meters. Swamps that could swallow a man whole. Mountain passes where one wrong step could mean a fatal fall. Intelligence would later reveal that their escape was monitored, though not directly intercepted, by both Japanese and British intelligence units. Their movement was a ghost-like progression through enemy territory, so precise and careful that it seemed almost supernatural. By the time they reached Allied lines nearly 7 weeks after their initial escape, only 4 of the original 8 remained. Their physical condition was dire, severely malnourished, covered in tropical ulcers, clothes in tatters. But they had done the impossible. They had traversed 300 miles of occupied territory, evaded thousands of enemy soldiers, and maintained their fundamental humanity in the most inhuman of circumstances. Their story would remain classified for decades, a footnote in the vast narrative of World War II's Pacific theater. But for those who knew, it represented something profound. The human capacity to survive, to resist, to maintain hope when all logical reason suggests surrender. Lieutenant Harrison would later say, in a rare interview decades after the war, that their survival was not about heroism. It was about something much simpler and more powerful. The basic human refusal to accept defeat.